Just as a reminder, you can visit us at thepandapod.com. That's thepandapod.com to grab our RSS feed, listen directly, and share PandaPod with your family and friends. You can also reach us directly via email through podcast at thepandapod.com. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Panda Pod. We're starting off season 2 while, while starting off a brand new year. I'm here today with our usual suspects, Mr. Rab,
Yep, hey.
Mr. Jeff,
Hello.
and Madam Jackie.
Hi.
And we're just gonna hang out and talk for a bit. We haven't gotten together, so we're gonna update each other and you guys on what's been going on, and we'll start it off that way. So, what's everybody been up to?
Oh, just avoiding people on the holidays has been my whole thing. Not really. I've wanted to see people, it's just haven't been able to. So that's where I've been, just kind of at home in my lane.
The first holiday, this is like your first holiday, not away from home, but your first one on this journey, right?
Last Christmas and New Year's, I was in Denver.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of on my odyssey. Although
Fair enough.
I've settled with, the person I'm with, but I don't know if we're going to stay in Birmingham or not. That's the next part of the journey, is figuring out where we want to live. So we're heading down to Orlando this weekend to hang out with a few of our commune crew and talk about, what we might want to do in the future. So that's what's going on with me.
So that's a good kickoff. Where, if you could move anywhere else in the world, different from where you are now, where would you go?
Anywhere else?
Like anywhere else on the planet?
Yeah, anywhere you want to go. Where would you go?
That's a
Joke answer, North Korea. Serious answer, Vietnam.
Like anywhere?
Yeah.
Well, no, you've lived other places.
Yeah, I've
Is
lived
it
in
just
a lot of
so
places.
just anywhere is okay?
No. Oof. No, there's some places that I would not go back to. I won't go back to Atlantic City ever. I don't want to live in the Carolinas because they're disgustingly humid. Especially off the coast. I think it's been my lifelong dream for as long as I can remember to, this is really silly, to own a house on the causeway that goes to Cedar Point, which is an amusement park in Sandusky. So it's not glamorous or anything, but it's just this dream of having my house that goes up to Lake Erie and you can see Cedar Point from your driveway, basically. But they're really expensive. But I think realistically, if I were to live anywhere that isn't here, I'd be in the UK. So
Makes sense.
Really boring with my answer, unfortunately.
So what state is your dream house in? I don't know where Cedar Point is.
It is in Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah, Cedar Point is an amazing amusement park. And if you haven't been, if y'all like roller coasters, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, they still have the record for most roller coasters, right?
I
think they do.
I hope they do. And they're not even they don't even have the tallest anymore, but I would argue, and I am biased, that they have the best. I also worked there.
I'd forgotten that.
It is embarrassing.
How's that embarrassing?
I was 20 and I had bleach blonde hair. Not toned, but bleach blonde hair. And very thin eyebrows, and I was sunburnt all summer long because I'm very pale. So I just looked like a bleach blonde tomato. that was like checking people's heights all summer long and telling them to quit smoking in line. It was amazing. One of the best jobs I've ever had.
So you're
Really
like
soothing.
IRL VeggieTales, a tomato that tells you to quit smoking.
Yeah, yes, except for not Christian.
Quit smoking for health reasons. You're non-denominational VeggieTales.
No, your body is not a temple. It's just gross. Okay.
So I'll tell you a story if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
So part of my job, let me adjust my seating stance so that I can tell this story. So the one ride that I worked on was like a swinging pendulum, and I loved that ride. And pardon me. And so I got to sit at the front of the queue for the line with a height stick. It was a PVC pipe with like it was wrapped in a specific color of tape so that people knew that they had to be like a certain height to get on the ride, right?
Right.
So there I am with my bleach blonde hair and my very red face and my very thin eyebrows because I was still stuck in high school. With my big sunglasses on, minding my own business, probably hung over because what else are you going to do when you work at an amusement park besides drink?
Sure.
And I'm sitting there and I hear this very familiar voice come up the midway. And it was the laugh that I heard that was like, ha, ha, ha. And I looked up and it was my uncle, who at the time was very much not sober. And I knew that he wasn't sober because when I told him that, he had to put a cigarette out in line, he looked at me and said, well, fuck you. And I pulled my sunglasses down. And I was like, well, no, fuck you, Jay. And so he did as I said, but I requested to him to please put his foreign belongings, like his loose objects, right, into the bin so that they wouldn't fall onto the midway when they were on the ride. And it was great to see my uncle, and I hope he remembers this story. I'm sure he maybe does. But about 20 minutes later, I'm minding my business, sitting there doing my job when like a whole ton of shit just falls off the ride and right onto the midway, like cell phones just broken, sunglasses, car keys. And I'm like, that must be my uncle. So I went and I collected all of it, as was my job, and then I held it with me. And sure enough, about a minute later, here comes my uncle stumbling up, and he goes, "Hey, kid, you got my stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got your stuff." And there was my uncle. My uncle surprised me at work. I think we surprised each other.
That's funny.
That's a good story.
I might text him and remind him of it here soon.
Should.
Yeah. Have you guys had family like surprise you at work ever? Like at the jobs that you guys have had?
No.
Oh.
No. God, no.
I've never been surprised by anyone. Or anything at work, ever.
Jeff has ESP.
No, just at work. Like nothing ever as exciting has happened at work.
I used to work at McDonald's, so I would say that probably my family has been in there while I was working.
Mm.
And I also used to work in like the dish pit of a different restaurant. So like, I mean, I'm sure they came by there when I was working, but I don't know if it was like I mean, it's probably a surprise, but probably wasn't very exciting, Not as exciting as your story for sure.
I don't even know if it was exciting. I think I was mostly mortified and annoyed with him for not doing what I said. I also worked at McDonald's, for the record.
Yeah, but I
a
mean,
week.
him not doing what you say, I think like that's definitely exciting in a way. I mean, being mortified and excited have to be like somewhere on the same spectrum.
That's true. I like that I get to remind him of things that he did before. Like he's super sober now. And I'm really proud of him, but he was not then. But keep in mind, this was the same summer job that like when it rained, we had a really bad storm and I was called out of the arcade where we were taking shelter to go fish dead birds out of the kiddie like floating boat thing.
Hell
So
yeah.
I had to like,
safe.
yeah, totally. Let's send the 20-year-olds. They don't know what they're doing.
This is
We're
pre-bird
getting paid.
flu.
We're getting paid $7.25 an hour. Let's go.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that was peak bird flu.
Oh my
Yeah, that's
God.
probably true.
This is a great summer job, guys. Thinking back on it, I'm really glad that I didn't get like scabies or.
Are you a fan of the movie Adventureland?
Is that the one with Jesse Eisenberg?
It is.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
about a bunch of people working at an amusement park.
Kristen Stewart is in that as well.
She is. There's a really good episode of This American Life all about like life at working at amusement parks. It's really good. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get into that. Speaking of podcasts that we're on right now, but also other podcasts, I've been watching Only Murders in the Building, which I think you guys might enjoy.
Where can we locate that?
Officially,
Yes.
Hulu.
Okay.
It has Martin Short and Selena Gomez and Steve Martin.
Oh,
Is this a podcast?
It is a show
Oh.
about 3 people who start a podcast
Oh.
because there was a murder in their building.
ah,
Yes.
That sounds fantastic.
It's
Actually.
it's really good. Who is the guy from The Birdcage? And I think he also plays Timon. Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane is also in it.
okay.
Martin Short and Nathan Lane. That's a great cast.
Yeah, Amy Schumer is also in the 2nd season, but you can look past that. So I'm not a fan, but it's really good, and my dog really likes to watch it, so that helps a lot.
Right on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I start up the music, and he like sits down in front of the TV and then just lays down and watches it for hours. So we're having a good time with that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the actual reasoning is behind it, but other comedians hate Amy Schumer.
She's not funny.
They constantly dunk on her, like just all the time,
because
like
she's
every
not
single one.
funny is the reason.
Well, I think when she first came out, I think like her first special and like clips and things that I had seen of her, she was funny. But she became non-funny. Sure, she definitely became not funny. But nobody's ever given a reason. It's like there's some inside information that they know about or something. Like they dunk on her.
Well, one
24/7.
true
It's
fact about Amy Schumer, she's related to Chuck Schumer. So
Ooh.
that's one thing about her that, I mean, while that isn't necessarily a quality of people to dislike, like who your relatives are, I mean, that can be, I guess, but like, I mean, I wouldn't hold that against her necessarily, especially if she disowned him, but I think that, I think that they are, on good terms. She's never like publicly disowned him, I don't think.
I think that she she came onto the scene like towards the tail end of a weird little comedy like boost. Like it was the same comedy period where like, oh, what's his name? Dane Cook was popular, and it's very similar kind of comedy. It's just like a woman's version of Dane Cook's comedy.
Well, I know that last night on the Golden Globes, because I watched too much TV, they finally started recognizing like comedians as part of the Golden Globes, and the clip that they shared of her skit was talking about how she thought it was sweet that her partner kept turning the lights on when they were going to be intimate, and he was like, I don't want you to feel like you have to hide yourself, and she goes, oh, it's sweet that you think that I don't want you to see me. But I watched that and I'm like, okay, this is, I get it. And I think it might have been funny if it was anybody if they weren't Amy Schumer, which then made me feel really bad. But I think she's right next to Lena Dunham with me. And kind of Jennifer Lawrence as well. Like they try really hard to be funny and they do the little wink wink nod nod, like
I don't know. I think Jennifer Lawrence was not very likable, and like I was along with the ride with people saying like she didn't have a personality and stuff like that at first, but I love her now. Like I've seen her interviews that she's had on like late night TV and things like that, and she's pretty good. Like I would. Like she definitely has a personality, and she's very sarcastic.
That's fair, because I think for a long time I disliked Aziz Ansari, because I thought that he was a major douchebag. But I've come around on him.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Like, okay, like yes, he became popular. He became very popular,
Yeah.
but it's kind of I would think it's kind of difficult for an extremely short, skinny, high pitched man, like high pitched voiced man, to be that douchebaggy. Like I don't see that
I think
as being a natural character trait anyway.
no, and I think it's my partner and I were talking about this earlier. Husband, sorry, partner, whatever. Um, where it's almost like you have to have a polarized opinion these days on something. Like even as basic as is Amy Schumer funny? Well, I don't think so, but other people might. And if I tell them that I don't think she's funny or think she's funny and they do, it could be an argument. And so lately it just feels like I feel I don't want to dunk on anybody. Like I don't like it. Doesn't make me feel good. But it's also like I feel like I can't say that I don't like anybody anymore because
Well,
things have gotten so like crazy, you know.
yeah,
Like
and I
Taylor
mean,
Swift, you know, like just go Taylor Swift on it. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I think I feel like you can. Some people get upset if you don't like certain things that they like, especially if like it has been turned into a culture war issue. Because I mean, like a lot of right wing people don't like Amy Schumer, and I think that they make jokes that are like inappropriately fat shaming for sure. You know, like
Yeah.
they and so I mean, some people that turn that around and just kind of like inherently defend her. Which I mean, she should be defended against fat shaming, but also like, you know, that's fine if you think that she sucks too, like that her comedy sucks.
Yeah. It's one thing to be, and of course, like the majority of people don't hear these things about themselves, right? But like, yeah, it's not cool to dislike someone just because they're fat, but it's okay to not think that they're funny. Uh, like obviously, I'm a fat girl. If you're fat, you know what? That's your business. You know, you figure it out. You do whatever you're gonna do. But like Jeff and I are aware of someone who I think is very much not funny, but apparently is very successful. And
I think she's hilarious.
I do not think she's fucking hilarious.
I do.
God, I will go to my grave saying that she is just not funny.
So who is this person?
No, we're not gonna say who it
We're
is.
not
Is it
gonna
an
say.
actual person that you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like a comedian.
No.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I just don't think she's funny, but she's very successful despite her appearance as well, which is
So I have a caveat to this.
okay.
Okay.
So, and that's people people think this comedian was very funny. The reason why they were funny was because they were fat.
Oh, is that the guy?
Ralphie May? Or...
Stavros.
No, actually,
Um,
they're funny.
Oh, Chris Farley?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chris Farley's wonderful.
Chris Farley was funny because he was fat. Had he
but-
not been fat, he would not have been funny.
Right, but
And-
being fat was part of his bit. You know,
Yeah.
it's okay to comment on something that people are like proud of and throwing out there and poking fun at themselves about.
Sure.
You know, and even then, it's not okay to make fun of them. But I
Right.
mean, it's okay to laugh with them about it.
As
Sure,
long as
but
you're not laughing
because
at
I
them.
don't think he's funny. I get the shit, especially from like my wife's family. Like
Yeah, I
they
almost
think
gave it
he's
to
like
you
the
right
most
now.
hilarious thing, right? Like I get the shit, but it's because I feel like it was crutchy, right? Like
Crutchy?
yeah,
Well, how
like
do you
he
feel
used
about,
his fatness as a crutch for his comedy, right? Like because that's all it was. It was never anything else. It was
I mean,
like
would you
and
say
the
that
most
about all
memorable
prop
parts-
comics though? Because it's essentially just a prop comic thing.
Not not necessarily.
What about
like
John
there are
Candy?
funny who?
John Candy.
John Candy was just funny. He just happened to be fat. Like
But
there's
he
a
also leaned into it as well.
yeah, he leaned into it, but he didn't lean into it that much. Like I think there was an extreme with Farley.
That's fair. I mean, Farley did do the Chippendales. like Farley, but fuck, God, he was
It's fucking
so
hilarious, though.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy in
This
the
is one-
coat is
yeah.
classic.
Once again, funny because he's fat, not
Yeah.
because he's actually funny.
No. When the Saturday Night Live skit when it is Christina Applegate and oh, what's his name? The other guy that was in Tommy Boy.
Oh,
I got it.
it's not Dana Carvey, is it?
No, but we're so
No,
close.
it's
David
it's-
Spade.
Yeah, David Spade.
So he's yelling at David Spade and Christina Applegate about how he's lost his job and he's living in the van down by the river and he is absolutely losing his shit. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was fat and everything to do with the fact that his comedic numbers
okay,
were amazing.
okay, I agree with you.
Yeah.
However, that was his other shtick, was being angry. It's look at fat angry man. Like
Peter Griffin.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But that was a whole
exactly.
like era of angry comedy as well, though.
That is very true. That is
Like
very
Sam
Farley walks a
Kinison.
Peter Griffin
yeah,
run.
Sam Kinison and yeah, there was definitely angry comedians around that time. I mean, that was a lot of them, especially a lot of the popular ones.
Who's the I'm
the
hungry guy? You know, what is that? He was the big guy. Gosh. he was
Subway
a-
Jared.
No.
Subway Jared.
Jesus Christ. I can't remember his name, so I'm not going to make any guesses. It wasn't Ralphie May, but there was another guy that was big. I'm going to mute myself and Google it.
Okay. Okay.
John Panette. John Panette.
I don't know who that is.
I know I've seen him. I'm sure if I see a picture, hold on.
Yeah.
Did you just post one?
No, I didn't, but I can.
John Panay?
John Panette.
Panay?
Not Louis
Panay?
Anderson. John Panette.
Louis Anderson.
Yeah, but Louis Anderson's hilarious too, though. I love Louis Anderson.
Louis Anderson had a very unique voice that helped him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'm not going to take that away from him. And yes, he was also crazy fat. But
John Belushi was fat by the time he died.
yeah, that was
But he
alcohol.
wasn't always fat. Yeah, I don't think it
And
counts.
fucking
Ron
cocaine
Jeremy, not a
hungers.
comedian, but definitely a porn star.
Louis Anderson playing Zach Galifianakis' mom on that clown show was the funniest thing. It just reminded me so much of my mother.
But in that same boat, you also have Wayne Knight, who is hilarious. And of course,
See, but I'm not saying that fat people aren't funny.
right?
I'm saying that particular.
Yeah, at this point we're
Comedian
just talking
who
about
was
fat
fat.
comedians. How did we get on this topic? What's going on here?
We're talking about fat comedians.
I know someone
This is
that
a
says
rabbit
that,
hole.
I know someone that says that Seinfeld is not funny.
Yeah, because
I
he's
don't
not fat.
find Seinfeld funny either, though.
Why?
Like, but that's just because his style of I'm not sure. Would that be considered observational humor? Or-
Well, it's observational humor, but the thing about Seinfeld is that when he came up, that was a popular style of comedy, which was
Right.
the way he spoke, the way that he creates. He tells the audience when to laugh by how he ends his sentences,
I
right?
mean the show, not the comedian, for the record.
Oh, the show?
Oh,
I mean, the show could definitely be
Yeah.
funny at times, but it wasn't funny all the time. Like my favorite, but I mean, Kramer's my favorite, like person on that show by far. But he was the only one that was actually doing any real comedy. Like it was the rest of it was all conversational bullshit funny. Like
There's art to the deadpan delivery they did every
Yeah.
single day on that show, which was
Yeah.
incredible.
yeah,
But
I mean, Jerry Stiller as well. Like, I just want to touch on
Yeah.
Jerry Stiller. There was a behind the scenes that we watched on YouTube, and it was disclosed that he would forget his lines a lot of the time. And so whenever he looked up at the ceiling, it was him trying to remember his lines, and he would just spit out random shit. And most of the time they kept it. And I love that. I grew up on Seinfeld. My dad says that I have a very Jerry Seinfeld sense of humor, which some people think is an insult, and I think is wonderful because
It
I
means
like
that
being
your
very
sense of
dry.
humor prefers much younger women.
Ooh, ooh, wow, wow, my heart. I don't know if I can say that I like Seinfeld anymore. But Larry David's funny.
Good
Curb
job,
Your
Jessica.
Enthusiasm is fucking funny. It's offensive, but it's hilarious.
What is?
Curb.
Oh, Curb
Cur-
Your Enthusiasm?
yeah.
Yeah, I could never get into that one either.
How are we friends? I'm so different from you guys.
Opposites attract.
I do love anime. I very much love anime. I prefer anime over any other type of media, but
I
that's
feel like most of our
because
audience probably intuited that of you.
yeah, probably it's not very hard to get there from anything else that I've talked about.
They could guess it after the first episode where you started like stating your power level and charging up a whole
And it
episode
was
before you
over
told a joke.
9,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So something that I definitely wanted to speak on, and that's good. We got some good stuff out of this, some good positive stuff. But I want to talk about some like midlife crisis.
Here we go.
Yeah, because that's something that I felt like I've gone through multiple iterations of midlife crisis about every 10
Yeah.
years. About every 10 years, I feel like I'm going through a new one. And each one's a little different than the one before it. Um, but I think I'm going through another one at the moment, and it's not surprising since I'm about to hit 40. Like I'm 39 here in what 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I'm hitting close to 40, and my body's falling apart. And I look at old people, like old men in particular, and there's some older men who are 60, 65 years old, and they are definitely in better shape than I am by
Doesn't that
far.
fuck you up though?
And then there's other 60, 65-year old men who look and act like they're 90. And so I know some of this is going to like boil down to genetics or whatever, but I also feel like there's a difference in the amount of upkeep that's required of a body once you hit a specific age. Because it's definitely harder to do even simple like exercises that I was doing, 10 years before. Like I could really stick it out and push myself, and now I just cannot. And so I'm definitely worried that I'm going to be the 90-year-old, 60-year-old.
Well, you don't have to be. Um, yeah, no, I agree. I saw a guy at physical therapy today that was easily 30 years older than me, and he was flexing and doing stuff, and I'm like, what? I can't even bend over and touch my toes.
The last time I went to the gym, I was on the treadmill, right? And I'm walking because like jogging would severely like put me on the floor. Like I just don't have the whatever's required to even do that anymore. And the guy next to me, who was obviously 75 years old, was just running full speed. And I was like, and like sweat just dripping, you know what I mean? And he looked just fine. I was just like, well, fuck me. Like, there's no way, and the embarrassing portion of it too, because I'm like, I should definitely be doing things. But I also live a very sedentary life, right? Like 15 years before people were working at home, I was working at home. You know, like like Jeff and I are pioneers of working from home.
yeah.
You know,
back when it
like
was
this,
called telecommuting. Back in my day, we telecommuted.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you create, like, they didn't have studies on you should definitely be doing exercise since you just sit at a computer all day long, right? Like that wasn't a thing. It was, oh, you're working from home? How was that? I've never even heard of anybody doing that before.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. Anyways, I'm going through that. I don't know how Jeff feels about that one.
Why are you calling me out like that? I don't. Are you trying to say that I've gone through a midlife crisis or something?
You've definitely gone through a
You've
midlife
so gone
crisis
through a
before.
midlife crisis.
My midlife crisis was so much fun.
You had a ridiculous midlife crisis.
Yeah,
Like,
it was great.
you went for it, man.
I did. I don't know that I'm done. I think I just might be in crisis for the rest of my life.
Can
Yeah.
we just be in crisis? Like, is that okay? Because like, I'm gonna go on a tangent here for a second. You can yell at me really hard when you want to interrupt me, but like, our generation has gone through so much, so
Yeah.
much. Like we had 9/11, we had COVID, we have like an increasing amount of school shootings, but they started when we were in school. Like we grew, like the internet came to be what it is when we were growing up. We had a
Yeah.
whole different brand of bullying than our parents did and their parents before them. We never got time to chill. And like,
I mean, I'm not gonna say that indefinitely. I did a lot of fucking chilling, but continue.
I didn't. But like, the point that I'm trying to say is like, I've been talking to my husband about it, and I talked to you guys about it the other day. But it's just like, one day I woke up and I realized that I live in a nice house in suburbia with the big white golden retriever and a husband and an SUV, and I don't know how I got here because me in high school, I would have been like, what a fucking loser. Look at her out
Have
in
you ever seen
suburbia.
SLC Punk?
A long time. Oh no, a long time ago. Is this relevant?
It is, yeah. At the very end of the movie, he becomes a lawyer. And he's like, I guess in the end, I was just a fucking poser.
Oh no. Oh no. But like, but I was talking to Andy about it, and what if all this time I've been trying to like figure out the things that make me happy, and like obviously it's not Warcraft and it's not writing because I've done those things before, and I'm trying so hard to find the next thing. What if I don't need the next thing? What if me playing video games and writing my weird little role play stuff is fine? What if I'm okay with the hobbies that I have, and okay, I have wrinkles now, but I'm still a bad bitch. Like, I'll still start fights with people on Facebook or face to face. Like, I think that maybe with COVID, I just got really complacent and scared, right? And things kind of maybe haven't calmed down. And
If I may,
whatever, but-
Jackie,
yeah,
if I can comment on that,
please, yes.
you did get real fucking scared over COVID.
Yeah.
Like you went from a pretty like chipper, outgoing girl to pretty like scared and reserved and untrusting of the world. What's going on there, friend?
Indiana.
Indiana. What about Indiana?
We moved here, and I feel like I don't know. It's just not the chillest place that I've ever lived, Like, it's pretty red, and no offense, but it's kind of uneducated, Like, it's not the most intellectual place I've ever been. But, like, I moved away from my comfort system, or my not comfort system, well, maybe comfort system. We can mash some words. But, like, I had a job that I liked. I was living with my dad, or not living with my dad, but, like, living in Texas near my dad, and he was my support system. I had gone through a huge weight loss. I lost almost 85 pounds, and I was doing really well. And then we up and moved to Indiana, and it's like everything that I had worked really hard for over the last 6 or so years felt, like it was just being flushed away. And I don't know what happened when I moved here, but like all of my willpower and strong headedness and motivation just completely went down the drain. And I've been trying to figure out what the fuck happened because it just hasn't come
Yeah,
back.
that's Jackie. That's just called marriage.
Shut
There's
up
no.
right now. That is not it.
But I mean, she moved up here before she got married. You know, I mean,
No,
Yeah.
that's not true either.
It's Mike Pence's fault. He outlawed being an independent woman.
But like, I don't think that it's marriage. I really don't, because my husband has been nothing but a wonderful, kind person, companion, husband. Like we have a great life. We really do. I don't think that's it. I think after COVID happened and like all of the disinformation happened and the divides really became clear, because it wasn't just Trump anymore. It was no longer a political thing, which I was used to because, Bush and Obama, my family's never been quite harmonious in a political sense. But it was the anti-vaxxing light of day stuff with a lot of people that I loved that made me really go, what the fuck what is the point of living if everyone is this stupid? I think was kind
that's
of
me in
a point that I reached.
2016
What was 2016?
when Trump got elected.
Oh yeah.
Remember Trump got
Yeah.
elected and I did some acid and I ended up in the hospital because I thought the world was terrible. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, that was me.
I
then.
lost my fucking mind. I told everybody on Facebook, which is like the communication platform of choice for all of my family and my extended family, that I didn't want anybody who voted for Trump to be around my child.
Oh, I remember that.
And-
Oh, your wife was so mad.
Oh,
My-
what a glorious choice that was.
Oh, Audrey was so pissed.
She was so mad. Like she tore me a new one, and I had to apologize to the world.
Yeah, I remember helping talking you off the ledge on that one.
I was I was very upset at the time, with good reason. However, I have since calmed down.
That's
And I also I've actually changed a lot since that happened, since that day.
yeah, no
I've
shit. You
changed
listen
a
to
lot
Joe
since
Rogan
that
like
day.
every day now.
Well, that's another thing. And this bugs the fuck out of me.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's that, yes, I do. I don't listen to every single one. But the thing about it is, lots of people, and this is just a societal thing. This isn't something that has to do specifically with like Rogan or not. This is a societal thing. People won't. They're not conditioned for long form information anymore. Like, just imagine sitting there and watching or listening to one of Rogan's podcasts, which is anywhere from 2 to 4 hours long, right? People won't do that. What they will do is they'll see a clip, right? They'll see a short on YouTube. They'll see an Instagram story. They'll see a tweet with a 10-second clip of somebody saying something and then lose their fucking mind, right? Like, context is no longer important. And I had a real big problem with that from when Trump got elected, from even before that. I mean, probably 2 years before he even got elected, I had this issue where people don't care about context anymore. They don't care about doing what they need to do to understand what somebody's really trying to say, or how they're saying it, or what question was actually asked of them before they responded to something, or like people they don't have the attention span to care anymore. And so what bothers me is someone saying something like what you did when you're saying like what you listen to Rogan now, implying that he's like some uber right side dude, right? But that's all you've heard because you don't sit there and listen to the extended amount of podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Does
I mean,
does he
you
have some? Does he
probably-
have some views? Yes, he definitely has right views. He definitely has left views.
I'm grabbing a book real quick from across my room, so you guys keep going. But I want to pull a quote real quick.
Sure.
Damn, citations needed, like real life citations needed, Wikipedia style.
Yeah, I know, right?
Also, like, if people don't see the like fun woo spiritual side of Rogan unless you're like looking at the videos on like the spiritual subreddits or actually listening to his episodes. Like his episodes like Duncan Trussell are so good. You know, like I think with Rogan, he is it's like a late night talk show host kind of thing. You know, you don't watch every episode of Leno or whatever. Maybe people did at one point, but nobody does anymore. You know,
Sure.
but if like you see that one of your favorite celebrities is going to be on there, you're going to tune in. You know, and it's not because you particularly like Leno's point of view on things. It's because you want to see what that person has to say. You know,
Right. And
Yeah,
I
it's the
and
also
same thing
think
for Rogan for me.
yeah. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. Hang on one second. Nope, lost it.
Wow.
That's fair. You know, and to the point of like the woo side of him and all that kinds of stuff. Imagine like it's no different from what we're sitting here doing now, right? Like and the thing that Jackie was kind of complaining about earlier is people are most people have views that are a little bit on both sides of the spectrum, right? Like most people aren't just full on like Antifa. And there's other people that aren't just full on crazy right. Like that's not most people. Those are very small vocal majority or vocal minorities, right?
Yeah.
And so he's just a dude that has views all over the place, like just like anybody else does, right? And but there's something that we do with celebrity that like how we view celebrities as gospel truth speakers that just it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, like I don't understand that
Can I
We were
why
talking
people
about
do
this the
that.
other night with Cage and Derek, and yeah, like we were talking about how like somebody's argument was that he has a responsibility to fact check himself in real time, um, and I think that there's some truth to that. Like I do think it's important for people, like, especially people using their voice and who have millions of listeners to like I use the term stewardship. Like they should have a sense of stewardship towards their audience as far as like providing them with good, correct information. But also at the same time, we were talking about how like we come on this show and like we spout nonsense constantly,
Sure.
so like at what point in time do you inherit that sense of stewardship? I know like this whole conversation, since we just talked about this like 2 nights ago, this whole conversation today, I've been thinking to myself, okay, well maybe I shouldn't say that, I don't know that to be true, but like, is that self-censoring? Is it important to self-censor? And at what point in time do you gain that, responsibility or stewardship towards your audience to present good factual information and not just bullshit opinions that you have.
Yeah, and and where's the like even not just on a celebrity level of like when do you gain the responsibility of stewardship? It's also does that have to happen every time you open your mouth? Right? Like anytime I open my like say it's me, right? Like so anytime I open my mouth I have to fact check what I'm going to say before I say it. Like that's going to cause some
So we're here
fucking
to fact check
like
you.
like, what's the point in me speaking at that point? Like, I'm wild. Like, I can't live like that. like that's too restrictive for me. Um, but it just kind of it like I understand the thought process behind it, behind of having some responsibility. It's just there's like, what's the degree of responsibility, right? Is it complete responsibility? Is it, like half the time? Is it, 1 out of every 10 times you say something, like where are the lines? Kind of like what Jeff's saying. Like it's really blurred, and people have different opinions on that.
Well, speaking of fact checking, I think Jackie went to all the trouble to fact check herself and go pull a quote
Yeah,
from the
what's
book.
the
No,
quote?
I'm trying to grab I'm almost there. So Jacob will at least know this book, I'm sure. So this is kind of a long quote, but bear with me. Classics cut to 15-minute radio shows, then cut again to fill a 2-minute book column, winding up at least 10 or 12 line directory resume. I exaggerate, of course. The dictionaries were for reference, but many were those whose sole knowledge of Hamlet. You know the title, certainly, Montag. It's probably only a faint rumor of a title to you, Miss Montag. Whose sole knowledge, as I say, of Hamlet was a one-page digest in a book that claimed, now at least you can read all the classics, keep up with your neighbors. Do you see? Out of the nursery into the college and back to the nursery, there's your intellectual pattern for the last 5 centuries or more. But the better quote from this book is that the average TV commercial of 60 seconds has 120 half-second clips in it, or 1/3 of a second. We bombard people with sensation. That substitutes for thinking. And that made me think, Wiggy made me think of that earlier when he's talking about how people aren't looking for actual information anymore. They're addicted to clips and reels
Yeah.
and things like that. No one wants the real story. No one wants to read the classics. No one wants to do the research. They want immediate information, whether it's true or false, and they go looking for it in the easiest of places without any concern about if it's right or wrong. They just want to know what they want to know, and they cast everything else aside. The book, for the record, is Fahrenheit 451, and if you haven't read it, you really should.
Damn, Jackie, not even gonna let me guess. You said I was gonna know it, and
Sorry,
for the
Jacob.
record, I did actually. I knew it was Ray Bradbury, but I was. You could have let me say that so that people would know I was
I'd
right.
like-
ranty. I just get ranty. I'm really sorry.
I'd like to say, and this is with all due respect, Rab is definitely the most nerdy friend that I have, and not in terms of like hobbies or things like that are nerdy or geeky, but just as an intellectual.
Yes.
Rab is the nerdiest person that I
Absolutely.
know by far.
Yeah.
By far.
But I'll take that as a compliment.
Well, because I love you and Jeff, but I don't think that either of you are going to go, oh, yeah, that's Bradbury. I can't believe that she went and grabbed a copy of Fahrenheit 451.
I did not know that.
It's such a good book. And I just read it for the first time, like, in the last, 2 weeks.
I mean, I don't read
been meaning to read
that many classics. I read that one in high school, so I mean, like, I don't want to overstate what I do know, but I mean, I feel like that's a question that could be asked on Jeopardy, and I do probably know the answers to a lot of questions that could be asked on Jeopardy.
That's fair. But it's the same, like, the whole book is about how they burn books because it makes things more peaceful for the people that live around them. And it's ridiculous because it reminds me a lot of what's going on right now with like all the different censorship groups and the Moms for Liberty and shit. But the first line in the whole book is, "It was a pleasure to burn." And I tell you, I have read many books in my days, like many, many, many books. I actually just joined a winter reading program at the public library. But of all the books that I've read in the last 10 years, that was the first line that made me go, okay, I can't put this book down until I'm done. Because I had to know what it had to say. And, well, hold on. What are you eating? No. I'll be right
back. Andy's gotten into the urinal cakes again.
Yeah.
Murphy.
Yeah. And I can see, whoever it was, I'm not going to look it up like Jackie did, but we've all heard ignorance is bliss, right?
Sure.
And so, I mean, what's the quickest way to get to non-informational bliss, right? And that's to burn all the books and to not like investigate anything that's interesting to you at all. Just like a lack of, I wouldn't say it's like a lack of intellectualism, but a lack of curiosity, I guess. Like just to be able to accept dogma or just something that an elder told you, or like my great uncle that I met, or my great great uncle actually. He kept telling me, we would sit on the porch outside my great grandmother's house, and he kept telling me that there was a bear up in the tree in the front yard, and he wouldn't let it go. Right? But there's so many people I feel like would just listen to him now. And be like, yeah, there's totally a bear up in that tree without doing any investigation at all, right? Like he had me 40% convinced just because he wouldn't stop saying it. Right? Like but I feel like that's just how people react to information now, and somebody tells you something and then they say, but don't do any of your own like investigation into whatever this is,
I also think that we're in the infancy of like knowledge dissemination as a society, or as like, I don't know, as human beings. Like for the vast majority of time that we've been around, we haven't had the ability to get this kind of information, you know, and how we disseminate that information and how we consume that information. Like, I think we're still very much in the experimental phase of figuring out how we do that efficiently as people, given the new ways of receiving that information. I mean, we're not plowing fields and, whatever anymore. Where we have zero contact with the rest of the world or any idea what's happening around us. It's only been in the last like 200 years, really, that we suddenly have the ability to know what's happening, and to have all of this knowledge and information and opinions shared to us. It's not surprising that we aren't doing it well. We're still figuring out how to do it.
Yeah, to that point, there was something else that I was thinking about, which is, so I'm somebody who I like to research what I'm interested in. And when I think about opposing views, right? Like I will listen to both sides of a story and kind of come to my own conclusion. I'm not always great at this. I do get stubborn sometimes. I'm human. But even there's enough supporting information for both sides of an issue to where I cannot make a decision on what's the right way to go forward. Like, I will get stuck in this place of, well, both side has merits to their argument, which is right, and there's times where it's happened where I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what decision I would make, because there's just, you get trapped in this funnel. It feels like going down, you get deeper and deeper and deeper into a problem, and then you get to a point where you're just like, I don't fucking know. Like, that's happened to me quite a few times over the past like 3 years. Um, Especially very complicated human issues, like specifically human issues.
You know what I think the problem with today's society is? Bears don't want to climb trees anymore.
I know.
Yeah,
and when you do see a bear in a tree, no one believes you.
Right.
Yeah, and when a bear steals your picnic basket, I mean, and runs off with it, like, no one is ever gonna help you get it back. I mean, nobody wants to help you, like, go chase down that bear and, like, go in and out a series of doors that all connect to each other.
And why is there a random bear of a different species just hanging on to his foot? Like,
is he a different species, or was he like a dwarf bear? Did he just have dwarfism?
That's what I think, because I mean, what kind of bear is that tiny?
I mean, I don't know if I've actually seen a bear with dwarfism, though. Like, is he the only one ever?
No, certainly not.
Because I feel like we would have seen a lot of them. Like TikTok's fire, right? Like I feel like we would have seen the little tiny cute dwarf bears.
Maybe he was like a capybara or something.
They very well could be. Anyway, it's all Jackie's fault.
What? I didn't do it.
Oh,
I don't know. I see her. I seen it.
No,
man, we're
I'm
pushing
good.
an hour already, but I do want to talk a little bit about aliens and AI because like a fair bit has happened since we last talked about both those things.
I think we're going to do that on the next episode.
Are we gonna just do a whole episode on that? I guess we probably could fill a whole episode, but okay, that's fair.
We can do that on Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, do we want to just cut this one short then? I feel like I feel like at this point we should be jumping into something if we're gonna keep talking.
This is true. We could cut it off here.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and we'll mark it.
I mean, I think this was a funny episode. I just don't I don't think people are gonna want to hear that much more of us just shooting the shit.
True.
Oh no, I think we're interesting. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think we were doing good at the beginning. I just think we're kind of losing it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's cut it.
I can't make any more Yogi Bear
good.
jokes.
All right, well, that's going to end for us, folks. Once again, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for joining us in the new year. And look out for the new episodes because they are coming. Once again, you can always reach us at thepandapod.com. And we love you guys. Bye.
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 Bye.